Hi, everybody. It's Ryan from Pie Records, and I'm here with Rod Keen from the Angry Red Planet. And may I tell you, Rod, that is an impressive amount of music. It's so intense, covers everything from surf to metal to rockabilly, all mashed into one. Does that sound good to you?
That's sort of what I was hoping for. It's a melding of a lot of music I like, and it's just kind of how it came out. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah, and I love it. It was so intense when I heard it. I was like, okay, this is my new favorite band. Like because
Oh,
I love really intense music. I
wow.
also love that you collaborated with Jason, and it shows a different side of his talent playing as fast as those songs are.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I loved so much was um, I love traditional surf, but I also love all the surf genres, subgenres,
Mhm.
and yours is completely new to me. Although there have been other bands involved that have done. There's a black metal inspired surf band, and
Mhm.
then there's obviously punk inspired.
Yeah.
But yours, what approach did you take when you say, okay, I'm going to do this surf project and I'm going to use these elements, or was it more natural, or was it more thought out?
It's hard to describe. I kind of had the idea of doing I call almost more like a retro music project years ago. I had done an instrumental album of kind of shreddy guitar, heavy metal stuff. And then I started working on a second album, and what was coming out was this sort of throwback. It made me think of like the theme songs to the Munsters and B-52s and stuff like that. And I've always had a soft spot for that style of music. So recently, like I'd written a few songs that are actually on the album back then, like we're talking 10 years plus ago. But the majority of that material came out when Jason sort of lit a fire under my butt with regards to this genre. I grew up listening to the Venturers. It's always been in my DNA. Um, but my primary guitar styles are, as you say, a harder rock kind of thing. And I think what I really wanted to do was sort of incorporate heavy metal riffs, but with older tones. I This is the first record I've ever done that doesn't have humbuckers on it at all. Like it's all single coils. It's a Tele, a Strat, a Mexican Strat at that, and what else have I got there? A recently acquired Dan Electro sitar. Those are the guitars on this thing, all single coils. And I thought it's just kind of a fun approach to play kind of heavy-ish tonalities like that, using certain chord progressions or certain riffs that are atonal or diminished or whatever riffs that I'd use in a heavy metal setting, but use it with sounds and drum beats that are more akin to surf and rockabilly and garage rock and that sort of thing. So that was sort of my mandate I gave myself.
You sent me three tunes to listen to, and they're quite impressive. The last song was more of a rockabilly song,
Mhm.
but like I said in our conversation before, it's like the Reverend Horton Heat on acid. It,
I
it,
love that. Thank you.
yeah, it's like it's kind of up, it's kind of down, it's kind of sideways, like it's super fast, and I love super fast. Why that song did you choose to play in such a um mixed tempo version? Because a lot of surf songs are very steady in their approach,
Yeah.
but you're up and down in tempo and speed.
I got to admit, I'm kind of a riff salad sort of guy. Like I've been playing for years, but I'd never really consider myself a songwriter. Um, I've always enjoyed music for the instrumentation and the abilities of the players. I grew up on heavier music, and I got into progressive music as I got a little older. I like Time Changes. I like Rush. I like King Crimson. I like Dream Theater. I like that kind of stuff where they're smashing genres together. Mr. Bungle. In fact, Mr. Bungle's California album is probably a huge influence on me because that had a lot of surf overtones
Yeah,
mixed with klezmer music, mixed with heavy rock, mixed with whatever. So when I'm writing these, it's all about keeping my interest. I've been writing music that nobody listens to for decades. So I just do what makes me happy. And I like it when it comes to my own material. I get bored of my own riffs pretty quick. So it's almost a grindcore approach of just slam them all together, try
yeah,
to make it cohesive, but take the listener on a journey. And you
yeah,
know, if I was a better melody writer or songsmith in the traditional sense, I might be able to get more mileage out of just sticking to a simple tempo, or I shouldn't say simple, but a regular tempo and writing a regular chord progression. I tend to write riffs as opposed to
right.
melodies and chords, chord progressions. So I think, you know, this style is just kind of an amalgamation of, I love Reverend Horton Heat. I've always wanted to do something like that. This was the perfect opportunity, but I can't carry a song the way he does. So next thing you know, there might be a riff that's more of a Jeff Hanneman thing, played surf style,
Yeah.
jammed into it, or the spaghetti western thing. You know, like there's a million styles of music that
Yeah.
interest me. I just tried to combine them all and keep it interesting.
And all of what you just mentioned is apparent in the music. It's very pronounced without sounding outside of the genre. It fits very well into the surf genre as its own thing. And how did you keep those influences kind of transposed into the surf genre? Like how did you remain consistent in that way?
I think my big push was to avoid certain aspects of the music that I tend to go towards. So no double bass drums, no blast or no traditional blast beats. If there's going to be a blast beat, it'll be with a garage rock sound,
Right.
um, that sort of thing. And I did make a conscious effort to, it's like I say, use more traditional surf instrumentation, lots of reverb, single coils. Uh, so it was just changing the mindset a little bit of how I'd usually write and using drum beats. Like I'm shocked that train beat is like my go-to now, like that rockabilly old
Yeah.
country train beat. And I've never really used it before.
Yeah.
My only reference I could think of until I started listening to older music would be something silly like Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. There's a train
Yeah.
beat in that, but you don't hear it in a lot of rock music otherwise. And or at least modern rock. And you know, setting some parameters on myself in my songwriting to use those type of sounds was pretty inspirational for me. Actually, it made things sound different and made it more interesting to me than a lot of the stuff I've been doing the last number of years.
And how did your collaboration with Jason from the Surf Hermits uh into Angry Red Planet? How did that happen? And what did he bring to the table?
Jason and I have been friends for 20 plus years, I think. We met, my career took me to the community he lives in, and we have parallel careers, let's just put it that way. And kind of fell into the music scene with him. And we were doing prog stuff back then and different styles of music altogether. And we've kept in touch. I moved away from his community in 2007, but we've always kept in touch. And with technology being as amazing as it is,
Yeah.
we've been able to collaborate and stay friends and stay musical collaborators even over the long distance. I think we've only played together physically a half dozen times in the last 12, 13 years, but I know what he's capable of. And when he came up with the Surf Hermits and I saw, just the prolific amount of music he was making, it lit a fire under me. And as I said, I already had an idea to do some more surf orientated music from almost a decade ago. And I was like, well, why not? Is there an audience for this? I certainly enjoy playing it. I enjoy listening to it. And I started making my material the way I normally do, using drum programs like Superior Drummer and that sort of thing, and just dropping MIDI files in for drum beats or composing my own. But once the songs would get to a certain point, I'd just send them off to Jason, and he'd put his own spin on my drum parts. There was only one where I think I had to kind of rein him in and was like, I'd really prefer it if you'd play it closer to what I programmed. But otherwise, out of the 8 songs, I mean, his parts are amazing, and there's so much more energy. They obviously sound more real. Yeah, it's collaborating with him is always awesome. As I mentioned in our pre-interview, he's been kind of an inspiration to me in terms of my production, my recording approach, songwriting to some degree, although we both bring different things to the table, although there's some common lines. To get back to your question, it was more I'd have the songs pretty much written, send them to him, and then just let him go at it. And 7 out of 8 songs, what he brought to it was just perfect, and I didn't have to ask for anything more. The one track, I just had something specific in mind, and second time through he nailed it. So just amazing to collaborate with. We're hoping to maybe do some splits or something like that in the future between the Hermits and the Angry Red Planet. And yeah.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So you did tell me you have some sites ready to launch, a Bandcamp and a Facebook page. But you wanted to wait until your record deal was solid. Are you allowed to talk about that?
At this point, I'm somewhat hesitant. I mean, I've read the contracts. It all looks awesome. I'm like 99% sure it's going ahead, but I just want to wait until, everything's 100%. I have little to no doubt that it won't be. I'm amazed it's actually happening. I've been playing for this long, and nobody's ever really given a crap about anything I do up to this point. So it's a huge honor that there is interest. And the fellow I've been talking to seems like the exact right type of people I want to work with. So hopefully in the very near future, I'll be able to be a little less cloak and dagger about that.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So are you looking to do just a digital release or CDs and vinyl?
I'd like to do CDs. I know it's a dead medium, but it's nice. It's nice to have something physical. Well, and even in the extreme metal crowd, which I'm a little more familiar with, there's a collector's mentality, and I know the surf crowds like that, but they're also a bit more analog. My desire to do records is a little less than some people's, just because I personally don't even own a turntable. I think I might have to rectify that pretty soon. But I just know that's going to open a can of worms that's going to put my family into getting a new mortgage, because I've got thousands of CDs, and to get all those albums on vinyl is, I can't even begin to think about it.
Well, once you go down that rabbit hole, there's no coming back.
Exactly. But yeah, my intention initially will be the digital releases, and then the physical media I have in mind so far is CD. If there's an interest in it, I wouldn't be taking a bath financially to help with the production of a record, like a vinyl LP. I'm open to it. It's just I don't want to bite off more than I can chew.
Right. So when are you looking? The songs I listened to today sounded pretty much done. When can we expect you to release them?
I'm hoping by the end of the year. I'm hoping next week, but it all depends. There's a couple little things I need to change still, but what I sent you is pretty much the finished product. There's some concerns over potential copyright infringement with a few sound effects I'm using on a couple tracks. So really? Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to have fun with it. I injured my hand recently, so I can't play guitar very much these days. So I'm going to spend some time making some sci-fi noises and replace a couple bed tracks with my own thing, and then it should be good to go.
Awesome. So one of the things I'm interested in is how you got that great tone, and just you got a great recording. Everything sounds so pristine, and I know being in a metal band when I was young, it was important to be tight and pristine, and a lot of thrash metal was like very on point. How did you get that sound so tight and so pristine?
Glad you picked up on that. It's the nature of how I learned how to play. I mean, James Hetfield and then the death metal guys, there's a certain tightness to their picking hand. And I remember reading as a young, when I was in my teens, I think Attack of the Killer Bees by Anthrax came out. And
Yeah.
there was a certain surf cover on that, Pipeline.
Yep.
And I think in the liner notes, Scotty and their rhythm guitarist mentioned that he didn't see it as such a huge difference between Noki, is it Noki Edwards and Don? I can't
Yeah.
remember the names from the Venturers.
Tom
To,
Wilson.
yeah, their rhythm playing. You look at something like Pipeline. I mean, it sounds like it's downpicked, it's steady, it's constant. They're attacking the strings. It's not that different than thrash metal. It's just the sounds are different. Miserlou by oh boy, I'm going to look like an idiot here. Dick Dale. I mean, that could be a Slayer riff, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Totally.
you put a polka thrash beat behind it and turn the gain up, and that's a Slayer riff as far as I'm concerned. Obviously he did it first, so Slayer's robbing from him. But in my lineage, I kind of got into Slayer before that. So when I made that realization, it's part of what's fueling the project is taking things that have become stale to me because I've been doing metal for so long that doing it a different way is making it a lot of fun and really unique, and to me at least. And yeah, I mean, my production, my playing style from that is bleeding into this, right? Like I am an in the box guy for the most part. I have, I've got a really nice amp back there, but I tend to run through a Kemper, which is probably heresy to some people. But I've been using tones that are generally Fender amps, Fender Twins, Fender Princetons. I think some divided by 13 for clean stuff. A couple of I think of the couple of other profiles I've been using are oh boy, what was that one? There's something called a Bletchley Bomber, which is apparently like a Marshall, like a Marshall style amp that's a little bit more broken up, but when you play it with the single coils, it's not overly aggressive. And what's the other one I've been using? Like a Trainwreck profile. And most of my profiles are actually done by, you can buy them through this fellow who plays for a country band called Lone Star. And I love the fact that I'm using this country guy's stuff because he's about purity of tone. I've gotten a lot of rhythm guitar packs from metal people, and they're great, but they really sound like the balls are cut out of them. They're so thin. They're meant to fit in that mix. So I find if I'm using this country guy's takes, even on like 5150s for my other projects, it sounds more like the real amp. And then I can get in there and dial the frequencies myself, as opposed to starting with some preset pack that kind of fits where you're going to put things into the EQ spectrum. But yeah, I mean, it is digital. I mean, I guess I shouldn't make apologies. It's what works for me. I have a family. I can't afford to I live in a suburban neighborhood. I can't afford to crank a Fender Bassman and do all that kind of stuff. So, it's what I do and it works for me. And I mean, hey, if you think it sounds good, that's great.
I personally live in a townhome community. I don't know if you can see it back here, but I got
see the Fender's blackface there.
Yeah, I got two 12s in that one, and I can't even turn it up to 2. So exactly. I got to be in the basement where everything's kind of dampened a little bit because my neighbors won't like it.
Exactly.
But looking at your studio, it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You could walk around that studio, pick up a guitar, and get inspiration from it. I could. I'm looking at it. I'm like, what kind of music do I want to play today? I'll go over and pick this up. You have that opportunity, and that Eddie Van Halen guitar back there is one thing that stuck out to me in our pre-interview talk. And tell me a little bit about that guitar.
Well, thank you for noticing. Obviously, I placed it clearly to spark conversation, as I saw with some of your interviews, you are a Van Halen fan, and it's also partly to hide a stain on the carpet right there. But yeah, I got that recently as a guitar player of my vintage. I was born in '78. That's the year the first Van Halen album came out, and obviously, in my elementary school days, I remember hearing stuff like "Ain't Talking About Love," and that made me want to play guitar.
Yeah.
So I'd been circling the idea of buying one of the guitars this company made. I made my own Frankenstrat, but it was from like a $200 kit, and it sounds like crap and it plays like crap. I'm probably just going to hang it on the wall just to have it there somewhere in the basement. But this one is one of the recent Striped series. I think they call it the Frankie. It's relic. It's Mexican. It's a little more expensive, I think, than the other Striped series, just because of the relicing involved to make it kind of look like the old POS Frankenstrat that he slapped together on
Yeah.
back in the 80s. And I think he played that up until at least on, I mean, I don't know, he might have played it on record further into the future, but I think it was his main instrument until about the 1984 album. And then he got the Kramer deal, and you'd see him live with the 5150 Kramers and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, one came to town, and my wife was kind enough to allow me to make the purchase. And yeah, it's a fantastic guitar. Sounds great. It's bringing out some of my 80s shred playing for sure. Not, you won't hear it in the Angry Red Planet material, but I'm writing some sleazy 80s rock from time to time when I pick up that thing.
Awesome.
It's also great for just leads on anything else. It's got
Yeah.
the Floyd, so I can do the dive bombs. I don't have too many other guitars with Floyd, so it'll make its appearance on future material, I'm sure.
So the leads that you play are insanely fast. What guitar did you use to play those leads on Angry Red Planet?
I think most of them are on that Mexican Strat you can see back there.
Really?
Yeah, I think most of them. There will be some that are on this. This is an American Telly, but I think it's about the lowest model they made. I bought it in 2009, and then stripped the paint and did a bunch of goofy stuff to it. It's got Seymour Duncan. There's some sort of hot rail, but they're a single coil. They're not a humbucker like some of those hot rails are. So between those two guitars, that's where most of the leads were, and I think most of the leads specifically were the Strat, just because of the vibrato arm. I like having that option. But like Ghost, what was that? Ghost Train is the Telly, because I wanted to be a little more country western sounding. And yeah, those are the two main guitars. I'm almost 100% sure I didn't use any other guitars other than the sitar, because there's not a lot of gain on the album. I don't think there's a little, maybe more than most traditional surf, but I tried to keep it pure as far as that goes.
Aside of your band, I know that Jason has a sitar band. Are you playing in that band?
No, his sitar band is with a real sitar, like the big gourd instrument with the strings aside. The sitar I have is like it's a recent take on that old 60s type sitar from you'd hear on the Painted Black or the Beatles albums.
Okay.
So it's a guitar with it's got a special bridge that just kind of creates that kind of buzzy sound, and one single lipstick pickup. To be honest, I mean, I think this thing's MDF. Like it's not an expensive guitar, and I don't think Dan Electros are ever like, they were mass produced instruments. But I've always loved that sound. The option came to get one, and I took the chance, and immediately it started. I wrote a song around it that's on the Angry Red Planet, and I actually went back and put some sitar parts over some of the other material that I'd already recorded.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's great. It's kind of an inspirational thing. Like, it's even shown up in the heavier stuff I do that won't be Angry Red Planet, just because I love that sound. I always have. It's something different than just throwing an acoustic guitar into something, or it has a different voice for leads. I can't shred on it like I would on a regular electric. It doesn't quite have that feel to it, or that kind of sustain, but I still get moving on it pretty good, and it's just a different vibe.
Awesome. Is there anything you'd like to talk about that I may not have mentioned?
Well, I'm really, really pleased that anyone has any interest in this stuff. I appreciate you reaching out and wanting to do the interview. I'm trying to think of what we could talk about beyond this. I mean, again, as far as the surf influences go, I listened to a lot of Ventures growing up. Uh, kind of lost track with it for a while, but it's amazing to see the scene that's developed over the last little while. And I'm hoping enough people like the stuff that I'm not ostracized from it. Yeah.
Well, I love it. And I'm
Good,
very appreciative that you were on the show today. And I'm very grateful that you allowed me to hear your music before it comes out. And I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.